next guest is an experienced healer and teacher who has been working in the holistic field for over 20 years. She practices everything from Reiki to tarot readings, but one thing that stood out to us was past life regression. Yes, this is a form of hypnosis which helps recover memories of past lives. Now, here to tell us more, please welcome Alison Byrne. Alison, thank you very much for coming on the show again. Now, past life regression, it's something I suppose we've all thought about, and we've all done the quizzes. Who were you in a past life? And you're always Cleopatra, or you're Queen Elizabeth, or you're someone famous and exotic, and you're never someone normal who worked in the fields back in the 1800s. We have a glamorized kind of notion of what past life is. Tell us about what you do and what past life regression actually is.
Well, first of all, about that thing about having a famous past life. There's two things that I'd like to say about that. First of all, I've worked with dozens, maybe hundreds of people, and I've never come across somebody who claims to be Cleopatra or Jesus or whoever, okay?
But not with ego, really, to be thinking you're that important.
But secondly, if you think of somebody, let's say Jesus, right? And he would have had fantastic energy, like huge strength and aura.
They say he was a Reiki master, really, don't they? That's the healing
Possibly.
But
his energy would have been so strong that the people that would have been around him a lot would have absorbed some of his energy or been influenced by it. So even if they did go back and talk as though they were Jesus, it's quite possible that they were close to him. You know. But having said that, I haven't come across them.
No one's been Jesus just yet. So tell us how does reincarnation work? I know a lot of people are very skeptical about it, but you cannot prove nor disprove any of these things. So in your experience, how does it work?
Well, what I understand is that we live a life, we go back into spirit form, we review the life and see what we learned, how we grew, what we'd like to do next. And if we choose to, and there's no compulsion, we might decide to have another human life in order to expand or grow in some other way. And quite often, we come down in groups of souls. In other words, whoever is your mother in this life might have been your brother in a previous life, or your son, or your daughter, or, generally the people that are close to us would have been close to us, but in different roles.
So cyclically, it's the same group, you're kind of surrounded by the same groups of people all the time, just in different incarnations.
Quite often,
wow.
Yeah.
When it comes to actually, I suppose I have a friend of mine, he's a genius physicist, to be honest, and he used to be very skeptical about religion and everything else, but the more he learns, the more he's open to everything, because there's so much in the universe we don't know. I mean, if you look at any of the great theories, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. If your energy is your soul, you can't, if the body dies, if a corporeal body dies, it can't. The energy has to go somewhere. So that's what we're talking about here, isn't it? Yes. And you think it's a choice whether or not you come back or not?
Oh, I really feel it's a choice, there's no compulsion. And people often talk about karma, and they say, if you're bad in a certain life, then you have to atone and have a miserable next life. But I don't think it works like that at all.
I hope not.
No, I think we take on different personalities in order to focus on different things. Because as spiritual beings, our understanding is huge. As human beings, we have to sort of blinker it down so we can survive in the human world. So we will take on different personalities in order to focus and to be able to expand some areas and learn. We're constantly trying to learn and not exactly better ourselves, but move towards our potential. That's where we're going, towards our potential, our bliss.
When you look at faiths who believe in reincarnation, because Hinduism is the most well-known.
But many more do than don't.
Yeah. And it's not quite unique even in Catholicism. There's you go to heaven, and that's where your next step is, as it were.
I don't think it contradicts. I mean, I'm Catholic. I don't think it contradicts the Catholic faith at all. And I remember in particular, that reading where Jesus says to the disciples, "Who do people say that I am?"
Yeah.
And they come up with, they say you're Elijah, they say you're whoever. I think that's a reference to our understanding of reincarnation. It's just that it wasn't kind of focused on and expanded.
Yeah, but I suppose if you look at Catholicism, reincarnation, Jesus was the reincarnation of God. We expect him to come back again. If you were a Catholic, we're expecting for the Messiah to return. So it's not completely alien to the Christian faith.
And it's nice to think that we've more than one try at life.
Thank God it is, because sometimes you're sitting there going, I've made a complete mess of this. Is this it? Is this the one chance I get? Yeah. And I actually dabbled in this sort of thing a few years ago. I've said before on the show, I've done sweat lodges, I've done Buddhist retreats, I've done everything. And I did a thing called soul retrieval, where you fly, your spirit flies off to find your fractured self back together. And they touched on past lives with me, and I had I have a very weak chest and a recurring kind of physical pain there. And the thing was, yeah, you were probably a witch in a past life and you were stabbed.
Hanged?
No, not hanged. I was stabbed. Because I think, do you know, sometimes if you're sad and you feel really upset, so some people it might manifest, but a very heavy just here. And they said you were probably lanced through that heart by something. And I thought it was very specific and graphic, but if you do hypnotherapy and you do regress like that, can it be that specific?
I'll just say I don't actually use hypnotherapy to do it.
Oh, right.
Hypnotherapy is one relaxed state of consciousness. I just use another. I use energy to do it.
Energy, right.
But anyway, yes, quite often if you have an unexplained pain, you know, if you go to the doctors and they say everything is fine and you still have this pain in your chest or your head or wherever it is, quite often it's because you haven't been able to process something that has happened in a past life. And that's the main reason people like to go back to a past injury. Life. Yeah, I remember particularly one lady, and she used to get severe pain just there. Yeah. And when we went back, she had been actually similar to yourself. She'd been killed in a previous life with a spear through the head. But the thing is, once you access it and kind of desensitize your energy to it, then you don't have to have the pain anymore. Yeah. And that's the reason you go back. And the other thing is, you never ever go back to see something that you're not able to manage. So I wouldn't be afraid that it would be too difficult for you, because you know your spirit or your innate wisdom will only bring you to, first of all, where the healing is, and secondly, what you can.
And are you conscious going through this? Or
absolutely, absolutely. It's like if I said to you, remember yesterday. Yeah. You're sitting here, but you can remember yesterday.
And how does it actually work?
Well, I ask people to lie on a plinth, you know, the bed. Yeah. Yeah. And I use Reiki energy and chelation energy. And I start at their feet, allow the energy to go in, and they're getting relaxed and more relaxed. And as I move up, it's all around, we call them chakras, the second and third chakra here. And at that stage, when I get up that far, they're quite relaxed. And then I'll start to talk them back. I'll say, remember coming here, remember this morning, remember being asleep, or imagine being asleep, and imagine you're having a dream. In the dream, you're looking at a river, and the river is representing time. And the river flows from the source towards the sea, from the past towards the future. Yeah. Okay? So you see a boat, and you get in it, and I would keep them safe and nurtured and tell them that they're secure in that. But I'd ask them to get in the boat, and the boat flows upstream. Yeah. Then the boat stops, you get out, and then I follow them wherever they go. I ask them to have a look and see what they're standing on. So it's grass or concrete or whatever it is. And then I ask them how they're dressed. And we get a sense of, are they male, female, what century, what country, you know.
And you can place it in the kind of.
And then we follow wherever they go. They may get a sense that they want to go down a path, and they may end up in their home in that life, sorting out a relationship, or they may be chased, or they may be in hiding from somebody, or whatever it is. We follow it to the conclusion, because it will either be one of two things. It'll either be a trauma that they hadn't processed, that they're ready to look at and let go of, or it'll be towards something quite nurturing. Like you mentioned, an ordinary life. I've had people who went back to what we call peasant type life. That life was simple, it was okay, no major difficulties, and all's right with the world kind of stuff. And they could bring that energy forward into this life to antidote the stress that they have. Or the other thing is sometimes, and it's not that often, but sometimes people will access a talent that they had in a previous life. Like, for instance, painting. And then realise, oh, let's try painting. Never thought of it at all. And then it flows because it's still in them.
Yeah, you see that happening quite a lot. And I need to ask you about this as well. Do you know, sometimes you meet somebody randomly, wherever in the world, and you feel a huge connection, like you've known them all your life.
Generally is a past life
connection. Is it?
Yes,
Because whatever, it does happen. And you do meet some people that you just fit like that, and it's like you know them like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes you know them, and you can open up to them, and a connection.
You can have an instant connection and a liking with somebody, or you can have an instant dislike
as well,
without an obvious reason, and that's past life stuff too.
It's probably the person who murdered me.
Or you've murdered them.
But I'm the one who ended up dead with a stake through my heart.
Well, if you think of it, think of all the many, many people in the world, and all the wars and all the battles. We've all killed lots of people, and we've all been killed lots of times.
Really?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes, I was met years ago, and I was told that I was a warrior, but I was a man.
But you're so ickle.
Well, I
to take on different.
Yeah. And I was told, like, way beyond that I was a beauty goddess. And, but I'm in the beauty, like, genuinely. But I was told that by somebody who didn't know what I did or anything about me. Yeah. And it was just, I found that very interesting.
It is interesting when you see a train coming through different lives.
Goddess, and I was a witch who was staked. That's just lovely.
No, it's kind of very interesting. But I often think about journeys, about life, you know, and we talk about success and all the rest, but maybe all the journey is to find something, like, you know, whether it's to find forgiveness or find happiness or find
contentment.
Empathy.
That's what we want.
But what if someone's really horrible? Like, we all know people, there's no redeeming features in them at all in this life. They're nasty, horrible individuals. Like, what's the point of them? Do you mind my asking? Okay. Are they living some part? Are they going to come back again and redeem themselves for that? Because it's all very well trying to find your bliss and your peace, but not everyone is that way.
We're all at different stages of evolvement, and some people are what we say quite young souls. They haven't had so many lives, and some people are well advanced, you know. And you're more likely to be in the violent, aggressive type if you're a young soul, to use that phrase. And they're on their journey. Yeah. They're more at the beginning of learning, and they're now, we don't know, maybe they have come in order to learn a particular thing, or maybe they have come in order to be what we call a frenemy, a friendly enemy for somebody.
Oh, we all got them.
We set up a lot of these pacts before we come, where there's an aggressor and a victim. And I'll bully you in this life, and we'll sort through that. Next time, you bully me, and we'll sort through that, because people want to grow in different ways. Now, not everybody gets into those pacts, but a lot of us do.
And how about if you've been, you can come back as whatever, be you an animal, be you a human, be you a warrior, or a goddess, whatever. Can you actually decide, well, I've had enough now, I'd like to flitter off to wherever I'm going to be for eternity? Can you actually make that decision through?
Nobody forces you to come back.
Yeah.
You decide if you want to, if you get a feeling that I really want to grow in this way or try out that, then you come back. Some people come back for a rest, by the way.
A rest?
Yes. Some people who decide that they don't want to have full mental capacity this time around, and they want to be looked after.
Yeah.
So people are, all the different conditions that you might have, that could be what they're doing. Or they may come back in order to infuse love all around them.
Oh, that's absolutely lovely. Thank you so much, because it's really interesting. Because we haven't discussed this on the show before. I know we've done dreams and Reiki and stuff with you before, but that's absolutely fascinating. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do so?
Well, my website is Alison Byrne Healing, and my number is 086 33 04 357.
Alison Byrne Healing, that is your website. All the details are there, and you have it up. Sally Ann's already in